beautiful sunset in the background. What a wonderful time to be outside planting. You can see some of the cover crops behind us. That's a lot of rye and triticale, just beefing up the soil for areas that may get expanded to in the future. If not, it's just improving the fertility. So this is one of our potato beds that we're working on today. We did potatoes on each side of cabbage. So it's not a bad thing to grow together, but it's one that you want a fairly fertile soil to do, and getting your spacing right is kind of key to this kind of system. So you can see here is one of our cabbages. It's starting to make a nice little head in there, so that's nice. This is buckwheat that has some seed in it that you can see, that we will just let go to seed in there in between. That was grown between the potatoes and the cabbages, along with some sun hemp. You can see that guy. They'll get a lot taller now that we've removed the potatoes and removed some of the nutrient demand from the area. So this area has been dug up, obviously, to get the potatoes out, and it's now being seeded to sunflowers. So this row of what was cabbage, car in the background, sorry about that. So this, what was cabbage and potatoes, the potatoes have harvested out, and right behind the potatoes, we're going in with a black bean, which will grow. We won't harvest as a green bean. We will let them go to where they start drying on the plant. We'll harvest the plant one time, and then we'll take those beans and we'll shell them out. But you can see here down the way, this is just simple hoe furrow, and then seeding in the sunflowers about every 12 to 16 inches. Nothing hard and fast on that rule, just kind of dropping them in a square pattern. We have 3 furrows, and the outer furrows are getting sunflower. And it's a little late for sunflower, but I think we got time. I mean, typically you would want to plant them by June. So here we are, early July. It's been a very wet June and July, so high hopes that they'll go ahead and take off and produce sunflower heads. These are for the mammoth sunflower, which will create large, 12-inch heads that we get to enjoy ourselves, roast, and or great source of chicken feed to let them pick off the heads in the wintertime. Again, it's about trying to create a system that produces its own needs or meets its own needs. So sunflowers are good for us. They're good for the garden in some aspects. Sometimes they can be a tricky companion plant because they, as far as I know, they exude a chemical out the root that doesn't like seeds germinating once they're established. So if you're going to use them as a companion plant, you seed them at the same time. And then once they're going, they don't really affect other plants that much. So this is going to be beans, nitrogen fixer, following our potatoes. The cabbage, in between each cabbage, I've planted in a butternut squash, a Walnut butternut squash. So this row is going to be, the ground's going to be completely covered in vines, butternut squash, and then the height, will be growing up and sprawling out. So it should be a really full bed again. After being a really full bed of potatoes and cabbage, we'll be finishing harvesting the cabbages out this week. So maybe next week on some of them that aren't quite full-size head. But essentially the babies will be interplanted, and then the crop will be taken out. So it's a way to do your successions without harvesting them before you plant. So you plant in between sometimes before you harvest out. And that way you've got living roots in the ground all the time, exuding and having that biological exchange with the fungi and the bacteria, and keeping that soil alive, metabolizing at a maximum rate, and that will help increase your fertility year after year if you're increasing your carbon by letting all your residues go or cycling through compost systems. So all of this bare soil we don't like to see, but the potatoes live under the soil. If we do like previous areas where we do potatoes. We usually put them on top and then a deep mulch. This was new areas. So using it as a method for a second Bermuda grassing, essentially we worked it hard. We planted the potatoes, and then during the harvest, we went ahead and made sure we removed the rest of those rhizomes out of there so that it was able to get a nice clean start. Now we're going to start deep mulching and composting this area, hopefully to put it into stability. And as fall approaches and these butternut squashes finish, we will end up planting in pioneer trees down the center of this wide row. And this will no longer be vegetable cropping. This will go into oat production. So that will be part of our grains that we produce here on farm for us and our chickens. This is Charles at Wells Farm. This was a last-minute weekly ramble. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Look forward to seeing these sunflowers popping up. If you guys are enjoying this, enjoying the weekly rambles, we're going to be working on the next video is hopefully going to be tomatoes, trellis or no trellis, prune or no prune. So if you have any information or opinions on that, leave some comments. And as always, my teacher said, enjoy the journey.